The rain was falling hard on the streets of downtown Chicago. It was a Tuesday evening and most people were hurrying home from work. They walked fast with umbrellas over their heads trying to stay dry. The sky was dark gray and the streetlights had just turned on. Marcus Wellington stood outside a small building. Water dripped from his baseball cap onto his nose. He wore old blue jeans with a small hole in one knee. His flannel shirt was red and black and it looked like he had owned it for many years. The colors were faded and dull. On his feet were old sneakers that had seen better days. Marcus looked up at the building in front of him. It was a community center, small and simple. The paint on the walls was peeling in some places. A handwritten sign in the window said, "Open mic night tonight, everyone welcome, 7 p.m. The letters were written in different colored markers, probably by children. This man standing in the rain was not what he appeared to be. Marcus Wellington was one of the richest men in America. He owned Wellington Industries, a huge company that made technology products. His company had offices in 20 countries. Magazines like Forbes wrote articles about him. He lived in a mansion with 12 bedrooms. He owned 5 cars. When he went to work, he wore expensive suits that cost more than most people earned in a month. But tonight nobody would recognize him. That was exactly what he wanted. Marcus had been feeling strange for the past few months. He sat in big meetings with important people. He ate at fancy restaurants. He flew in private jets, but something felt wrong inside him. He felt empty. He felt alone. He wondered if people liked him for who he really was or just because he had money. 3 weeks ago, Marcus had an idea. His company wanted to start a new program to help local communities. They wanted to give money to community centers and local programs. But Marcus did not want to just write a check and forget about it. He wanted to understand real people and real problems. He wanted to see how normal people lived, so he decided to go undercover. He would dress like a regular person and visit community centers. He would not tell anyone who he really was. He would just watch and listen and learn. Tonight was his 3rd visit to a community center. The first 2 visits had been interesting, but nothing special had happened. He had watched people play basketball. He had seen kids doing homework. He had talked to a few people about their lives, but he had not felt connected to anyone. Marcus took a deep breath and pulled open the door of the community center. A bell jingled above his head. The warm air inside hit his face. He could smell coffee and something sweet, maybe cookies. The inside of the building was simple but clean. The walls were painted yellow, but the paint was old. There were children's drawings taped everywhere. One drawing showed a family holding hands. Another showed a big sun with a smiling face. The floor was made of old tiles, some of them cracked. To his left, Marcus saw a small kitchen area. A coffee pot sat on a counter. Next to it was a plate of homemade cookies. A sign said, "Free coffee and cookies, please help yourself." Marcus smiled a little. In his world, nothing was free. Straight ahead was a large room. Folding chairs were set up in rows, facing a small stage area. The stage was just a raised platform made of wood. It looked like someone had built it by hand, probably volunteers. There was no fancy lighting, just regular ceiling lights. On the stage sat an old microphone on a stand. About 30 people were already there. They sat in small groups, talking and laughing. Marcus saw people of all ages. There were elderly couples holding hands. There were young mothers with babies. There were teenagers in school uniforms. There were men who looked like they had just finished work at construction sites, still wearing their work boots. Everyone looked comfortable and happy. They talked to each other like old friends. Some people hugged when they saw each other. A little girl ran across the room squealing with joy, and an old man scooped her up and spun her around. She giggled loudly. Marcus felt something twist in his chest. When was the last time he had felt that kind of simple joy? When was the last time someone had been truly happy to see him? Not because of what he could do for them, but just because they liked him. He walked slowly to the back of the room and sat down in a corner chair. He wanted to watch without being noticed. He pulled his baseball cap down a little lower over his eyes. "First time here?" a voice said next to him. Marcus turned and saw a woman sitting 2 chairs away. She looked to be in her early 30s. She had kind brown eyes and her dark hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. She wore a nurse's uniform with a worn jacket over it. Next to her sat a little girl, maybe 7 years old, who was coloring in a book. "Yes," Marcus said. "First time." "I'm Sophia," the woman said with a warm smile. "This is my daughter, Rosa." The little girl looked up and waved with the hand holding a purple crayon. "Hi," she said, then went back to her coloring. "I'm Marcus," he said. He almost added his last name out of habit, but caught himself. "Just Marcus." "Welcome, Just Marcus," Sophia said with a little laugh. "You'll like it here. Everyone is very nice. We come every Tuesday. It's our special night out together." She looked at her daughter with love in her eyes. Marcus nodded. "What happens here?" "It's open mic night," Sophia explained. "People get up and perform. Some people sing, some people read poetry. Last week, a man played the guitar. The week before, 3 kids did a dance. It's all just for fun. Nobody is professional. We just share what we love with each other." "That sounds nice," Marcus said, and he meant it. An elderly Asian woman walked to the front of the room. She was short and thin, with white hair cut in a neat bob. She wore a simple dress and comfortable shoes. She had a gentle smile on her face. "That's Mrs. Chen," Sophia whispered. "She runs this place. She's like everyone's grandmother." Mrs. Chen clapped her hands together 3 times. The room slowly got quiet. People turned their chairs to face the front. Children stopped running and sat down. "Good evening, everyone," Mrs. Chen said. Her voice was soft but clear. She had a slight accent. "Welcome to another Tuesday night. I see some familiar faces and some new faces. Everyone is welcome here. This is your home." People smiled and nodded. A few people called out, "Thank you, Mrs. Chen. Tonight we have many wonderful people who want to share their talents," Mrs. Chen continued. "But first, let's have some coffee and cookies. Let's talk to each other. Let's remember that we are a family here." People stood up and started moving around. Some went to get coffee. Others stood in groups talking. Children ran around playing tag. The noise level rose, but it was a happy, comfortable noise. Marcus stayed in his seat watching everything. He noticed how people helped each other. An old man had trouble carrying his coffee cup because his hands shook. A teenage boy immediately walked over and helped him. A young mother struggled with her crying baby. Another woman came over and made funny faces at the baby until it laughed. Nobody here had much money. Marcus could tell from their clothes, from the way they talked about their jobs, from the tired look in their eyes. But they had something he did not have. They had community. They had real friendship. They had connection. "Would you like some coffee?" Sophia asked him. "No, thank you," Marcus said. "I'm fine." Sophia studied his face for a moment. "You look sad," she said gently. "Is everything okay?" Marcus was surprised. In his regular life, nobody ever asked him if he was okay. People told him he looked successful. They told him he looked powerful. But nobody asked about his feelings. "I'm just tired," he said. It was not exactly a lie. He was tired. Tired of being alone. Tired of fake smiles. Tired of people who only wanted something from him. "I understand," Sophia said. "I work night shifts at the hospital. I'm always tired. But coming here makes me feel better. There's something healing about being around good people." Before Marcus could respond, Mrs. Chen's voice called out again. "Okay, everyone, let's start. Please take your seats." People found their chairs. Rosa climbed into her mother's lap. The room got quiet again. Mrs. Chen stood at the front. "Our first performer tonight is Michael. He's going to read a poem he wrote about his grandfather." A thin teenage boy walked nervously to the microphone. His hand shook as he held a piece of paper. He started reading in a quiet voice. The poem was about his grandfather teaching him to fish. It was simple but sweet. When he finished, everyone clapped loudly. The boy smiled, looking relieved and proud. Next, a woman in her 60s sang an old song. Her voice was not perfect, but it was full of emotion. Some people in the audience sang along quietly. Then 3 children performed a short play about sharing. They forgot some of their lines and giggled, but everyone loved it. Marcus watched it all. He felt something stirring inside him. These people were not performing to become famous. They were not trying to impress anyone. They were just sharing pieces of themselves with people who cared. After about an hour, Mrs. Chen looked around the room. Her eyes landed on the old piano sitting in the corner. It was an upright piano, dark brown wood, scratched and worn. Nobody had played it tonight. In fact, it looked like nobody had played it in a long time. There was dust on top of it. Mrs. Chen sighed. "It's such a shame," she said to the audience. "We have this beautiful piano, but nobody plays it anymore. Our usual piano player, Mr. Robinson, moved away last month. I miss having music." She looked around hopefully. "Does anyone here play piano? Even a little bit?" The room was silent. People looked at each other and shrugged. Mrs. Chen's eyes scanned the audience. They landed on Marcus in the back corner. She smiled and started walking toward him. Marcus felt his heart beat faster. He knew what was coming. Mrs. Chen stopped in front of him. Up close, he could see she had kind eyes, the kind that had seen a lot of life but remained gentle. "Excuse me, young man," she said. "Do you play piano?" Marcus hesitated. In his head, alarm bells were ringing. He had been playing piano since he was 5 years old. His mother had insisted he learn. He had studied with the best teachers. He had played in recitals and competitions. He was actually very, very good, but nobody knew this about him. He had kept it private for years. In his business world, people saw him as a ruthless CEO, a technology genius, a money-making machine. They did not see him as an artist. He had hidden that part of himself for so long. If he played now, he might reveal too much. People might recognize him. His cover would be blown. I don't really play," Marcus said, trying to sound casual. Mrs. Chen tilted her head, studying him. "Not even a little bit? Not even a simple song?" "Well," Marcus said, struggling to find words. "Please," Mrs. Chen said. Her voice was so kind, so hopeful. "Just something simple. Maybe chopsticks? Or Mary Had a Little Lamb? Just to bring some music into the room. It would make everyone happy." Marcus looked past Mrs. Chen at the piano. It looked old and neglected. Some of the keys were chipped. It probably had not been tuned in years. But something about it called to him. He looked around the room. All eyes were on him now. Sophia smiled encouragingly. Rosa had stopped coloring and was watching him with wide eyes. The other people in the audience looked curious and friendly. "Come on, friend," a man called out from the middle of the room. "Give it a try. Everyone starts somewhere," another woman said with a laugh. "Yeah, don't be shy," a teenager added. Marcus felt something crack inside him. These people were not asking him because he was rich. They did not even know who he was. They were just asking another human being to contribute something to the community. To share, to connect. "Just something simple," Mrs. Chen said again. "Maybe Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star?" Everyone knows that one. You could play it very slowly. We'll all sing along. It will be fun. Marcus looked at her kind face. He thought about all the board meetings he had sat through. All the fake conversations. All the people who smiled at him but did not really care about him. All the loneliness. Here in this small community center with peeling paint and cracked floors, people were asking him to share something real. "Okay," Marcus heard himself say. "I'll try." The room erupted in applause and cheers. Sophia clapped happily. Rosa bounced up and down on her mother's lap. Mrs. Chen's face lit up with joy. "Wonderful," Mrs. Chen said. She took his hand and started leading him to the front of the room. Marcus stood up. His legs felt strange, like they did not quite belong to him. He pulled off his baseball cap and set it on the chair. He ran his hand through his hair. It was still wet from the rain. As he walked to the front of the room, his heart pounded. What was he doing? This was crazy. He should just play a few simple notes and sit back down. Keep his secret. Stay hidden. But another part of him, a part he had buried for years, was waking up. That part wanted to play. Really play. To let the music out. To stop hiding, the piano sat waiting for him. The bench in front of it was old and wobbly. Marcus sat down carefully. The bench creaked under his weight. He looked at the keys. Many of them were yellowed with age. Some had chips in the white coating, showing the wood underneath. He pressed one key gently. The note that came out was slightly flat. The piano definitely needed tuning. "Whenever you're ready," Mrs. Chen said gently from beside him. "Just something simple that we all know." Marcus placed his hands on the keys. His fingers remembered exactly where to go. They had muscle memory from thousands of hours of practice over the years. He looked out at the audience. About 30 faces looked back at him with friendly, expectant expressions. They thought he was just a regular guy who might know how to play chopsticks. They had no idea what he could really do. Sophia gave him a thumbs up. Rosa waved at him. Marcus took a deep breath. Just play something simple, he told himself. Play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star like Mrs. Chen asked. Play it slowly and simply. Then you can sit back down. Nobody will know your secret. His fingers hovered over the keys. But deep inside, something else was stirring. A voice that had been silent for too long. A part of him that wanted to be free. Marcus closed his eyes for just a moment. Then he opened them, looked at the keys and pressed the first note. Marcus pressed the first key. The note rang out in the quiet room. It was slightly out of tune, but it was music. Then he pressed the next note, and the next he started playing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star just like Mrs. Chen had asked. He played it slowly and simply. Each note came out clear and clean. The melody was familiar to everyone in the room. The audience relaxed. Smiles appeared on their faces. This was what they expected. A simple tune. Nothing fancy. Just a nice moment of music to warm up the room. But as Marcus played, something strange was happening inside him. His fingers wanted to do more. They wanted to move faster. They wanted to add harmonies and rhythms. They wanted to show what they could really do. No, Marcus told himself firmly. Keep it simple. Don't reveal yourself. He continued playing the basic melody. People started humming along. A few children sang the words quietly. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Mrs. Chen stood next to the piano, her hands clasped together, looking happy. This was exactly what she had hoped for. Simple music to bring joy to her community. Marcus told himself to finish the song and stop. Just play it through once. Then stand up, accept their polite applause, and return to his seat. Mission accomplished. Cover maintained, but his fingers had other ideas. As he reached the end of the first verse, instead of stopping, his right hand started adding a small variation. Just a little decoration on the melody. Nothing too fancy. Just a small flourish. A few people in the audience noticed. Their expressions changed slightly. That was pretty, their faces seemed to say. Marcus felt a small crack in the wall he had built around himself. It felt good to add that small touch of beauty, just that tiny bit of creativity. Keep it simple, he reminded himself again. But his hands were not listening to his brain anymore. When he started the second verse, his left hand joined in with a richer bass line, still simple but fuller. The sound of the piano changed. It became warmer, deeper. More people stopped humming. They just listened now. Something in the music was changing. Marcus felt the old piano responding to his touch. Despite being out of tune, despite the chipped keys, despite years of neglect, the instrument still had a voice. It wanted to sing, and his hands wanted to help it sing. No, Marcus thought. Stop now. This is getting dangerous. But then something unexpected happened. Little Rosa, Sophia's daughter, stood up from her mother's lap. She walked closer to the piano, drawn by the music. Her eyes were wide with wonder. She stood perfectly still, just listening. Marcus saw her out of the corner of his eye. He saw the pure joy on her young face. She was not thinking about money or status or business deals. She was just feeling the music. Really feeling it. Something broke inside Marcus. All the years of hiding. All the years of pretending to be just a businessman. All the years of keeping his true self locked away. All of it suddenly felt like a waste. His fingers began to move faster. The melody of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star was still there, but now it was wrapped in something more. His right hand started adding jazz chords. His left hand created a walking bass line. The rhythm became more complex. The audience sat up straighter. What was happening? This was not chopsticks anymore. This was not a simple tune. Mrs. Chen's mouth opened in surprise. She took a step back from the piano. Marcus felt like a dam had burst inside him. The music poured out of him. Years and years of training. Years and years of practice. Years and years of love for the piano that he had kept secret from the world. His hands flew across the keys. The simple children's song transformed into something extraordinary. He added runs and trills. He created new harmonies. He took the melody apart and put it back together in ways that seemed impossible. The old piano, despite its flaws, sang under his fingers. The out-of-tune notes somehow did not matter. The chipped keys somehow did not stop him. He made that worn-out instrument sound alive. The room was completely silent except for the music. People had stopped moving. Some had stopped breathing. Marcus was no longer aware of them. His eyes were closed now. He was lost in the music. It had been so long since he had really played, so long since he had let this part of himself be free. He started incorporating elements of classical music into the tune. Suddenly the children's song had echoes of Mozart, of Beethoven, of Chopin. His fingers remembered everything his teachers had taught him 20 years ago. But he did not stop there. His style shifted. Now jazz influences came in. The melody swung and syncopated. He played with the rhythm like a jazz pianist in a smoky club. His left hand created a boogie-woogie beat that made the piano sound like a whole band. Some people in the audience started looking at each other with confused expressions. Who was this man? Where did he come from? How could he play like this? Sophia clutched her chest. Tears formed in her eyes. She had never heard anything so beautiful in her life. Her daughter Rosa stood frozen near the piano, completely mesmerized. An old man in the front row pulled out a handkerchief and wiped his eyes. A tough-looking construction worker sat with his mouth open. A teenage girl grabbed her friend's arm in amazement. Marcus transitioned again. Now the music became powerful and dramatic. He played with the force and passion of a concert pianist. His whole body moved with the music. His fingers pounded the keys, then caressed them gently. Loud then soft, fast then slow, angry then sweet. The melody of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star was still there, hidden inside all the complexity, like a golden thread running through a tapestry. But now it was wrapped in layers and layers of musical genius. The old piano shook with the force of the music. Dust rose from its top. The bench squeaked and groaned, but the instrument held together, giving everything it had. Mrs. Chen had both hands over her mouth. She could not believe what she was hearing. This was not what she had asked for. She had asked for chopsticks. For Mary had a little lamb, for something simple. This was not simple. This was art. This was magic. Marcus's mind was completely empty of thoughts now. He was pure feeling, pure emotion. All the loneliness he had felt for years poured out through his fingers. All the frustration of wearing masks and hiding himself. All the sadness of fake friendships and empty success. But there was also joy in the music. The joy of finally being free. The joy of sharing his true self. The joy of making something beautiful. He began building toward a climax. His hands moved faster and faster. The music grew louder and more intense. He played chords that used all 10 fingers at once, creating waves of sound that filled the small community center. Some people stood up from their chairs without realizing they were doing it. They were drawn forward by the music, unable to resist its pull. Marcus felt sweat on his forehead. His arms ached, but he could not stop. Not yet. The music was not finished with him. He started incorporating elements of Rachmaninoff, one of the most challenging composers. His hands stretched across the keyboard, playing notes that seemed impossible to reach. The music became thunderous like a storm. Then suddenly, just when it seemed the piano could not possibly get any louder, Marcus pulled back. The music became soft again, gentle. The original melody emerged clearly one more time, simple and pure. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. But even this simple melody sounded different now. It sounded like a prayer, like a lullaby for all the broken people in the world, like a promise that beauty still existed. People in the audience felt tears running down their faces. They did not try to wipe them away. They just let them fall. Marcus played the last few notes very slowly. Each one was perfect and clear. The melody ended exactly where it had begun. Simple, pure, complete. Then silence. For a long moment, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The last note hung in the air like a bird hovering before landing. Marcus kept his hands on the keys. His eyes were still closed. His chest rose and fell with his breathing. His whole body trembled slightly. He slowly opened his eyes. It took him a moment to remember where he was. The small community center, the peeling yellow paint, the folding chairs. Then he remembered what he had done. Oh no, reality came crashing back. He had played, really played. He had shown everyone what he could do. He had revealed himself. Marcus slowly turned on the piano bench to face the audience. What he saw shocked him. Every single person was standing, even little Rosa, even the old man who had needed help with his coffee cup, even the tired mothers holding babies. They all stared at him with expressions he could not quite read. Shock, awe, confusion, wonder. Nobody moved. Nobody said anything. Marcus felt panic rising in his chest. Had he made a terrible mistake? Had he ruined everything? Then one person started clapping. It was Sophia. She stood with tears streaming down her face, clapping her hands together slowly and deliberately. Then Mrs. Chen started clapping. Then the old man. Then the construction worker. Then everyone. The applause built like a wave. It grew louder and louder. It filled the room. People were not just clapping politely. They were clapping with all their strength. Some people whooped and cheered. Others just clapped with tears running down their faces. Marcus stood up from the piano bench. His legs felt weak. He did not know what to do. Should he bow? Should he run? Should he try to explain? People surged forward. They wanted to shake his hand. They wanted to hug him. They wanted to tell him how the music had made them feel. That was incredible, the construction worker said, pumping Marcus's hand up and down. His grip was strong and his eyes were red from crying. I've never heard anything like that in my life, a young woman said. You should be on television, an elderly woman told him. You should be playing in concert halls, someone else said. Marcus tried to smile and accept their kind words, but his heart was pounding. Any minute now, someone would recognize him. Someone would pull out their phone and Google his face. Someone would figure out who he really was. He had been stupid. So stupid he had let his guard down. He had let his emotions control him. Now he would pay the price. Sophia pushed through the small crowd around him. Rosa held her hand tightly. Sophia's face was wet with tears, but she was smiling. Thank you, she said simply. Thank you for sharing that with us. Rosa looked up at Marcus with huge eyes. That was the most beautiful thing I ever heard, she said in her small voice. Marcus felt his throat get tight. He knelt down to be at Rosa's eye level. Thank you, he said softly. That means a lot to me. Where did you learn to play like that? Rosa asked. Before Marcus could answer, a voice came from the back of the room. A teenage boy was looking at his phone. His eyes went wide. Wait a minute, the boy said loudly. I know that face. Marcus's blood ran cold. This was it. This was the moment he had feared. The boy walked closer, still staring at his phone. He looked up at Marcus. Down at his phone. Up at Marcus again. You're... The room got quiet again. Everyone turned to look at the teenager. Then they looked at Marcus. Mrs. Chen stepped closer. She tilted her head, studying Marcus's face carefully. Her expression changed. Recognition dawned in her eyes. You're Marcus Wellington, she said quietly. It was not a question. It was a statement. Marcus heard several people gasp. A few people pulled out their phones and started searching. The billionaire? Someone said. The CEO? Someone else added. From Forbes magazine? A third person asked. Marcus stood there, exposed. His cover was blown. There was no point in denying it. Yes, he said simply. I'm Marcus Wellington. The mood in the room shifted. Some people stepped back from him. Others moved closer. Everyone was looking at him differently now. Sophia's expression changed. She had been smiling. Now she looked confused and a little hurt. Why didn't you tell us? She asked. Why did you pretend to be someone else? Mrs. Chen's face had lost its warm smile. She looked sad and disappointed. Did you come here as some kind of joke? To see how poor people live? No, Marcus said quickly. No, nothing like that. Then why? Mrs. Chen asked. Why lie to us? Marcus took a deep breath. This was the moment. He could give them some corporate answer, some smooth explanation that protected him, or he could tell them the truth. He chose truth. I didn't lie, he said slowly. I just didn't tell you everything. My name is Marcus. That part was true. And I came here because... He paused, trying to find the right words. Everyone waited. The room was so quiet he could hear the old coffee pot gurgling in the kitchen. I came here because I'm lonely, Marcus finally said. His voice cracked a little. I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. I have a big house and fancy cars and people who work for me. But I don't have friends. Real friends. People who like me for me, not for what I can do for them. He looked around at all their faces. I wanted to see what it was like to just be a regular person. To be in a place where nobody knew my name or cared about my money. To just belong somewhere. Sophia's expression softened a little, but she still looked hurt. You should have trusted us, she said quietly. I know, Marcus said. You're right. I'm sorry. An older man in the back spoke up. So the piano playing, that was real? Yes, Marcus said. That was completely real. I've been playing since I was 5 years old. My mother made me take lessons. I studied with the best teachers, but I've kept it private for years. In my business world, people see me as a CEO, not as an artist. Why hide it? Mrs. Chen asked. Her voice was softer now, less angry. Marcus shrugged. I guess I was afraid people would think it was weak or silly, that a businessman shouldn't care about art and music. So I just stopped talking about it, stopped playing for anyone. I locked that part of myself away. Little Rosa tugged on her mother's hand. "Mommy, why is everyone upset?" "He played beautiful music for us." "Isn't that good?" Out of the mouths of children, Marcus thought. Rosa was right. He had shared something beautiful with them. Did it matter who he was? But he could see in the adult faces that yes, it did matter. He had deceived them, even if only by omission. Trust once broken was hard to repair. An uncomfortable silence filled the room. People did not know what to say or do. Some people sat back down in their chairs. Others stayed standing, arms crossed, waiting. Marcus stood in front of all these people, feeling more exposed than he had ever felt in his life. In boardrooms, he was confident. In business meetings, he was in control. But here, in this small community center with paint peeling off the walls, he felt vulnerable and lost. He could see different reactions on different faces. Some people looked angry at being deceived. Others looked curious. A few looked sympathetic. Most just looked confused. The teenage boy who had recognized him was still holding his phone. "It says here you're worth $3 billion, he said, reading from his screen. "Is that true?" Marcus nodded. "Something like that. I don't keep track of the exact number." A man in work clothes laughed, but it was not a happy laugh. "Must be nice not to keep track. I count every dollar I make." "I understand why you're upset," Marcus said. He looked around the room, trying to make eye contact with as many people as he could. "I know I should have been honest from the start. But I want you to understand something. For the past 5 years, I haven't played piano for anyone. Not once. I've barely played it for myself. I buried that part of who I am." He paused, feeling emotion rising in his throat. "Tonight, when Mrs. Chen asked me to play, I almost said no. I almost kept hiding. But something about this place, about all of you, made me feel safe enough to be myself. Really myself, not the CEO version, not the Forbes magazine version, just me." Sophia was watching him carefully. He could see she was thinking about his words, considering them. Rosa still held her mother's hand, looking back and forth between the adults, trying to understand what was happening. "When I played tonight," Marcus continued, "I wasn't pretending. I wasn't acting. That was the most honest I've been with anyone in years. I shared something with you that I haven't shared with anyone. That music came from the deepest part of me." Mrs. Chen walked slowly toward him. She was a small woman, barely 5 feet tall, but she had a presence about her. Years of running this community center had given her wisdom and strength. She stopped right in front of Marcus and looked up at him with her sharp, kind eyes. "You came to my community center wearing a disguise," she said. Her voice was not angry, but it was firm. "You watched us. You studied us. Like we were some kind of experiment." "No," Marcus said quickly. "It wasn't like that. I wasn't studying you. I was learning from you." "Learning what?" Mrs. Chen asked. Marcus thought about how to answer. He needed to find the right words. Words that would help them understand. "Learning how to be human again," he finally said. "Learning what it feels like to be around people who care about each other. People who help each other not because they want something in return, but just because it's the right thing to do." He gestured around the room. "I watched that teenage boy help the old man with his coffee. I saw people hug each other when they arrived. I heard you call everyone family. In my world, none of that exists. Everything is a transaction. Everything has a price." I'd forgotten what it was like to just connect with people. An elderly woman who had been sitting near the front spoke up. Her name was Dorothy, and she had been coming to this community center for 15 years. "So you're saying you're rich but lonely? You want us to feel sorry for you?" "No," Marcus said. "I don't want your pity. I'm not trying to say my problems are worse than anyone else's. I know everyone here has struggles, real struggles. Struggling to pay rent, to feed their families, to keep their jobs. I know my problems are different." He ran his hand through his hair, a gesture he made when he was frustrated. "I'm just trying to explain why I came here. Why I wanted to be anonymous. I wanted one place where I could just be a person, not a bank account." Dorothy considered this. She had been poor her whole life, working as a maid, raising 4 children alone after her husband died. She had known real hardship. But she was also a fair person. She could see pain in Marcus's eyes, even if it was a different kind of pain than she had known. "The music was beautiful," she said finally. "That much is true. You gave us something special tonight even if you didn't do it the way you should have. A few other people nodded. Marcus felt a small bit of hope. Maybe they would understand. Maybe they would forgive him. But then a man named Jerome stood up. He was in his 40s, worked in construction, and had a daughter about Rosa's age. He had a hard look on his face. I don't know if we can trust you now, Jerome said bluntly. You lied to us. You came in here pretending to be something you're not. How do we know this whole thing isn't just some game to you? How do we know you really care about any of us? Marcus felt the words like a punch. The man was right to question him. Trust had to be earned, and he had not earned it by being deceptive. You don't know, Marcus admitted. You have no reason to trust me. I understand that. All I can do is tell you the truth now and hope that means something. Sophia had been quiet, thinking. Now she spoke up. Marcus, let me ask you something. When you played that piano, when you created all that beauty, who were you playing for? The question surprised Marcus. He thought about it carefully. I was playing for myself at first, letting out all the feelings I've kept locked up. But then, he looked at little Rosa. Then I saw your daughter's face. I saw how the music touched her, and I realized I was playing for all of you too. I wanted to give you something beautiful. Something real, Rosa smiled at him. Children were so quick to forgive, so ready to see the good in people. Adults had been hurt more, learned to be more careful. I believe him, Mommy, Rosa said, tugging on Sophia's hand. Sophia smiled sadly at her daughter. It's more complicated than that, sweetie. Why? Rosa asked with the simple logic of a 7-year-old. He made beautiful music. He made people happy. Why does it matter if he's rich? It matters because he wasn't honest with us, Sophia explained gently. And honesty is important. But he's being honest now, Rosa pointed out. The adults had to smile at that. Rosa was right in her simple way. Marcus was being honest now. The question was whether they could accept his honesty and move forward. Mrs. Chen sighed deeply. She looked tired suddenly. Running this community center was not easy. Dealing with people's problems every day took energy. Now she had to deal with this strange situation. A billionaire in disguise who played piano like an angel. I need to think about this, Mrs. Chen said. We all need to think about this. It's been a very strange night. She looked at Marcus directly. I'm not telling you to leave, but I'm also not saying everything is okay. You broke our trust. Trust is precious here. It's all we have sometimes. Marcus nodded. He understood. I'm sorry, he said again. Truly sorry. I made a mistake coming here in disguise, but I don't regret playing the piano for you. That was real. That was true. And if you never want to see me again, I'll understand. But I'll always remember tonight. Always. The room was quiet again. People were processing everything that had happened. It had been an emotional roller coaster. First the beautiful music that had moved them all to tears, then the shocking revelation, then the confusion and hurt. Now this apology and explanation. The teenage boy who had first recognized Marcus spoke up. Mr. Wellington, can I ask you something? Call me Marcus, Marcus said. And yes, ask me anything. Are you going to tell people about this place? The boy asked. His name was Kevin, and he was smart, always asking good questions. Are you going to put us on the news or something? Are reporters going to come here now? Marcus had not thought about that. It was a good question. His name attached to anything usually attracted media attention. The last thing these people needed was cameras and reporters invading their safe space. No, Marcus said firmly. I won't tell anyone. This place, this community, it's yours. I won't bring my world into it. You have my word. The word of a man who just lied to us? Jerome said skeptically. Marcus met his eyes. Yes. The word of a man who lied by omission and who regrets it deeply. The word of a man who promises to do better. That's all I can offer you. Jerome stared at him for a long moment. Then he nodded slightly. Not forgiveness, but acknowledgement. An idea was forming in Marcus's head. A way to maybe begin to make things right. It was risky. They might reject it. But he had to try. Can I ask you all something? Marcus said. Mrs. Chen nodded. Go ahead. Why is the piano in such bad shape? Why hasn't it been tuned or maintained? Mrs. Chen looked sad. We don't have money for that. We can barely pay for the building's rent and utilities. Piano tuning costs hundreds of dollars. We make do with what we have. What about other things? Marcus asked. What else does this place need? Several people looked at each other. They knew where this was going, and they were not sure how they felt about it. Don't, Sophia said quietly. Please don't do what I think you're about to do. Why not? Marcus asked. Because it feels like you're trying to buy our forgiveness, Sophia said. You're rich, we get it. You can write a check and fix our problems. But that's not what this place is about. This place is about community, about people caring for each other, not about money. Marcus felt the truth of her words. She was right. He was about to do exactly what she said, fall back on the one thing he was good at, throwing money at a problem. You're right, he said. I'm sorry. That was wrong of me to suggest. But Mrs. Chen was thinking. She had run this community center for 20 years. She had seen it struggle, seen it nearly close down multiple times. She had begged for donations, held fundraisers, worked miracles with tiny budgets. She loved this place more than anything. Wait, Mrs. Chen said. She looked at Marcus thoughtfully. Maybe there's a way to do this that feels right. Not as you buying forgiveness, but as you being part of the community. What do you mean? Marcus asked. Mrs. Chen walked over to the coffee pot and poured herself a cup. She took a sip, thinking. Everyone waited to hear what she would say. When Mrs. Chen was thinking, you didn't interrupt her. Finally, she turned back to face the room. This community center is always in trouble. Always 1 month away from closing. We need help, real help. But Sophia is right. We don't want someone to just write a check and walk away. That's not what we're about. She looked at Marcus. If you really want to be part of this community, then be part of it. Not as a rich CEO, as Marcus the piano player. Come here every Tuesday. Play for us. Teach the children. Help with the fundraisers. Get your hands dirty, show up. Be present. Marcus felt something shift in his chest. That was not what he had expected her to say. He had expected her to either reject his money entirely or accept it with conditions. But she was asking for something harder. She was asking for his time, his presence, his genuine involvement. And, Mrs. Chen continued, if your company wants to support us financially, we won't say no. But we want it to be real support. Not just money, not just your name on a plaque. We want you to care about this place, about these people. Really care. She set down her coffee cup and crossed her arms. Can you do that?
Can you commit to being part of this community?
Not above it. Not separate from it. But truly part of it? Marcus looked around the room at all these faces. Jerome the construction worker, Dorothy the elderly maid, Kevin the smart teenager, Sophia and little Rosa. All these people who had so much less than him in terms of money, but so much more in terms of connection and community. Could he do what Mrs. Chen was asking? Could he really show up every Tuesday? Could he be genuine and present and not hide behind his wealth and status? It would mean exposing himself. Really exposing himself. Not just playing piano once, but consistently letting these people see who he truly was. The good parts and the flawed parts. The talented parts and the lonely parts. It was terrifying. But it was also exactly what he wanted. What he needed. Yes, Marcus said. I can do that. I will do that. You'll come back next Tuesday? Mrs. Chen asked. Yes. And the Tuesday after that? Yes. Even when it's not convenient? Even when you have important business meetings? Even when you'd rather be somewhere else? Marcus hesitated. That was the real question, wasn't it? It was easy to make promises in an emotional moment. Harder to keep them when real life got in the way. But he thought about the music he had played tonight. The feeling of being truly himself. The look on Rosa's face. The tears on Sophia's cheeks. The beauty of human connection. Yes, he said firmly. I'll be here. I promise. Mrs. Chen studied his face for a long moment. Then slowly she smiled. It was not her full warm smile yet. But it was a start. Okay then, she said. Welcome to the family, Marcus. But understand this. Family means you don't get special treatment. You clean up after events like everyone else. You help serve coffee. You stack chairs. You do what needs to be done. I understand, Marcus said. And, Mrs. Chen added with a hint of humor in her voice. Next time you play piano, maybe warn us first. My old heart can't take too many surprises like tonight. People laughed. The tension in the room broke like a wave. It was not completely gone. There was still some awkwardness, some uncertainty. But it was better. Much better. Sophia walked up to Marcus. She still looked uncertain, but there was something softer in her eyes now. I want to believe you, she said quietly so only he could hear. But rich people make promises all the time. Then they disappear. I know, Marcus said. I can't blame you for being skeptical. All I can do is prove it through my actions. Rosa tugged on Marcus's sleeve. When he looked down at her, she held up her coloring book. Will you sign my book? She asked. You're the best piano player in the whole world. Marcus felt his eyes get wet. He knelt down and took the crayon she offered him. I'm not the best in the whole world, he said gently. But thank you for saying so. He signed his name in the corner of her coloring page, right next to a drawing she had made of a purple cat. There you go. Rosa hugged him suddenly, wrapping her small arms around his neck. Marcus froze for a moment, surprised. Then he hugged her back. When was the last time someone had hugged him without wanting something? He could not remember. Okay, Rosa, let's give Marcus some space, Sophia said, gently pulling her daughter back. But she was smiling now. A real smile. Kevin, the teenager with the phone, had been watching everything quietly. Now he walked up to Marcus. Mr. Wellington? Marcus. I have a question. Sure, Marcus said. Why do you really want to be part of this community? Really? Be honest, it was a fair question. Kevin was sharp. He wanted the truth, not a nice-sounding answer. Marcus thought carefully before speaking. Because I'm tired of being alone. I'm tired of people treating me like I'm special when I don't feel special. I'm tired of fake conversations and fake smiles. I want to be around real people. People who will tell me when I'm wrong. People who will be my friend even if I lose all my money tomorrow. Kevin nodded slowly. Okay, I can respect that. But you have to understand something. People here have been hurt by promises before. The city promised to fix our playground 3 years ago. Never happened. A company promised to donate computers. Never came. We've learned not to trust words. Only actions, I understand, Marcus said. Watch what I do, not what I say. Exactly, Kevin said. Then he held out his hand for a handshake. Marcus shook it, grateful for the young man's directness. Jerome, the construction worker, had been standing back with his arms crossed. Now he stepped forward. He was a big man with rough hands and a weathered face. He had worked hard his whole life and had little patience for nonsense. I got a question too, Jerome said. His voice was gruff. You said you play piano like that, but you hide it. Why? What's the point of having a gift if you don't use it? It was a question Marcus had asked himself many times over the years. Why did he hide his musical talent? He searched for an honest answer. Fear, Marcus finally said. Fear that people would think I was soft. Fear that showing emotion would be seen as weakness. In the business world, you have to be tough, hard, ruthless sometimes. I thought if people knew I played piano, they wouldn't take me seriously as a CEO. Jerome grunted. That's stupid. Marcus laughed despite himself. You're right. It is stupid. But fear makes people do stupid things. You gonna keep being afraid? Jerome asked. Or are you going to start living like a real person? I'm going to try to be real, Marcus said. Starting now. Jerome looked at him for a long moment. Then he nodded once. Okay, we'll see. He turned and walked back to his seat. It was not warm acceptance, but it was not rejection either. Marcus would take it. Mrs. Chen clapped her hands together. All right, everyone. It's getting late. Some of us have to work tomorrow. Let's start cleaning up. People began moving around the room. They picked up coffee cups and stacked chairs. They swept the floor and wiped down tables. Marcus watched for a moment, then jumped in to help. He started folding chairs and leaning them against the wall. Dorothy, the elderly woman, watched him with interest. You ever fold chairs before? She asked. No, Marcus admitted. I'm probably doing it wrong. Dorothy laughed, a warm sound. Just line them up neat. That's all, see? You're learning. Marcus smiled. Such a simple thing, folding chairs. But there was something satisfying about it. About doing basic work alongside other people. About contributing in a small, concrete way. Sophia was wiping down the tables with a rag. Marcus picked up a spray bottle and helped her. They worked in silence for a minute. Thank you for giving me a chance, Marcus said quietly. Sophia paused in her wiping. I'm doing it for Rosa. She loved your music. She hasn't stopped talking about it. And she's usually a good judge of character. She's a special kid, Marcus said. I know, Sophia said with a proud smile. I work night shifts at the hospital. I don't get to spend as much time with her as I want. But Tuesday nights are ours. We never miss this place. What do you do at the hospital? Marcus asked. I'm a nurse. Emergency room. It's hard work, but I like helping people. Marcus thought about the difference between them. Sophia helped people by taking care of them when they were sick and hurt. She saw real suffering every day. What did he do? He made technology products. He made money. Did he actually help anyone? That's important work, Marcus said. So is making beautiful music, Sophia replied. She looked at him thoughtfully. That song you played, it made me feel things I haven't felt in years. It made me remember why life is worth living, even when it's hard. Marcus felt a lump in his throat. Thank you for telling me that. They continued cleaning in comfortable silence. Around them, other people worked together, talking and laughing. There was an ease to it, a rhythm. Everyone knew their role. Everyone contributed. Kevin came over carrying a garbage bag. Want to help me take out the trash? He asked Marcus. Sure, Marcus said. They carried several bags out to the dumpster in the alley behind the building. The rain had stopped, but the air was still damp and cool. The alley was dark except for one dim light above the back door. As they tossed the bags into the dumpster, Kevin said, Can I tell you something? Of course. I want to be a software engineer. I'm teaching myself to code. I watch videos online, read tutorials, but it's hard without a real computer. I use the library computers, but they kick us out after an hour. Marcus listened carefully. You're teaching yourself? That's impressive, Kevin shrugged. I don't have money for college, so I have to figure it out myself. But I'm good at it. I know I am. I just need a chance. Marcus wanted so badly to say he would buy Kevin a computer, pay for his education, give him a job at his company. But he remembered what Sophia had said about not buying forgiveness. He had to be careful. Keep working at it, Marcus said. People who teach themselves are often the best. They have motivation that you can't learn in a classroom. Yeah? Kevin said hopefully. Definitely. I taught myself a lot of things. Books and practice can take you far. They walked back inside together. Kevin seemed to stand a little taller. Sometimes people just needed someone to believe in them. Marcus understood that feeling. Inside, the cleaning was almost done. The room looked neat and orderly again. Mrs. Chen was counting money from a donation jar. She looked worried. Marcus walked over to her. Problem? He asked quietly. Mrs. Chen sighed. We're short for this month's rent. Again, I don't know how we're going to make it. Marcus wanted to ask how much. Wanted to write a check right there. But he held back. Is there something I can do to help? Besides money? Mrs. Chen looked surprised by the question. Most people offered money first. We're having a fundraiser next Saturday. A community dinner. We need people to help cook, serve food, sell tickets. Think you can do that? Yes, Marcus said immediately. I'll be here. What time? 3 o'clock. And Marcus? Wear an apron. You're going to get messy. Marcus smiled. I'll be here. Mrs. Chen studied his face. Then she reached out and patted his hand. It was a small gesture, but it meant something. Maybe you're all right, she said. Time will tell. People started saying their goodbyes. Rosa waved at Marcus enthusiastically. See you next Tuesday. She called out. See you next Tuesday, Marcus called back. Sophia smiled at him as she and Rosa headed for the door. Don't let us down, she said. It was half teasing, half serious. I won't, Marcus promised. One by one, people left. They pulled on coats and jackets. They called out goodbyes to each other. See you next week. Take care. God bless. Soon it was just Marcus and Mrs. Chen. She was turning off lights and locking doors. You need a ride somewhere? She asked. No, thank you. I have a car. Mrs. Chen looked at him curiously. Where did you park? I didn't see any fancy cars outside. A few blocks away. I didn't want it to stand out. Mrs. Chen smiled slightly. Smart, but you can park closer next time. We'll deal with it. They walked out together. Mrs. Chen locked the front door with a key from a huge ring full of keys. This place has been my life, she said quietly. 20 years I've been running it. I've seen kids grow up here. Seen families get back on their feet. Seen people find community when they had nothing else. It's a special place, Marcus said. It is. And I protect it fiercely. That's why I was hard on you tonight. I had to make sure you understand what this place means. I understand, Marcus said. Mrs. Chen looked up at him. Even in the dim street light, her eyes were sharp and clear. Do you really? Because this isn't a hobby. This isn't something you do when you're bored. These are real people with real lives. If you make promises and break them, you hurt people. I know, Marcus said seriously. I won't break my promises. Good. Because that little girl, Rosa, she already adores you. If you disappoint her, you'll break her heart. And if you break her heart, you'll have to deal with me. There was steel in Mrs. Chen's voice. This tiny elderly woman was fierce. Marcus respected that. I won't disappoint her, Marcus said. Or you, or anyone here, Mrs. Chen nodded. Okay then. Go home, Marcus. Get some rest. See you Saturday at 3. See you Saturday. Marcus walked down the dark street toward his car. The rain had left puddles everywhere. His shoes splashed through them. He did not care. He felt more alive than he had in years. When he reached his car, a sleek black luxury sedan, he sat inside for a moment without starting the engine. His phone was full of messages. His assistant had called 7 times. His board members had sent urgent emails. There was always some crisis, some emergency that needed his attention, but for once Marcus did not care. Let them wait. Tonight had been more important than any business meeting. Tonight he had shared his true self with people, and they had accepted him. Maybe not completely, maybe not without reservations, but they had given him a chance. He looked at his hands, still slightly shaking from playing the piano so intensely. These hands had typed 1 million emails, signed 1,000 contracts, made billions of dollars, but tonight they had done something better. They had created beauty. They had touched people's hearts. Marcus finally started the car and drove home. But his mind was back in that community center. He was already thinking about next Tuesday, about what he would play, about how he could help, about how he could be part of something real. When he got home to his enormous mansion, it felt emptier than usual. The marble floors echoed with his footsteps. The high ceilings felt cold and distant. His designer furniture looked nice but uncomfortable. This place had everything money could buy, but it had no soul. Marcus went to his private music room. He had a beautiful grand piano there, perfectly tuned, worth more than most people's houses. He sat down and placed his fingers on the keys. But he did not play. He just sat there, remembering the feel of that old, out-of-tune upright piano at the community center, how it had responded to his touch despite its flaws, how it had sung for him. His phone buzzed again. Another urgent message. Marcus looked at it, then set the phone aside. Whatever it was could wait until morning. Tonight had changed something in him. He had been living a half-life, showing the world only one part of who he was. The businessman, the CEO, the success story, but he was also the musician, the artist, the lonely man looking for connection. Starting now, he would try to be whole. All of himself. Not just the profitable parts, not just the powerful parts, but the human parts too, the vulnerable parts. The creative parts. It would not be easy. His business world would not understand. His board members would think he was getting soft. His competitors would see it as weakness. But Marcus did not care anymore. He thought about little Rosa's face when she listened to the music, about Sophia's tears, about Mrs. Chen's cautious acceptance, about Jerome's challenge, about Kevin's dreams. These people had given him something precious tonight. They had given him a chance to be real, to be seen, to belong. The next morning, Marcus woke up feeling different. He usually jumped out of bed, checked his phone immediately, started answering emails before he even had coffee. The business never stopped. The deals never waited. Every minute had to be productive, but this morning he laid in bed for a few extra minutes. He thought about last night, about the music, about the people, about the promises he had made. His phone sat on the nightstand, buzzing and flashing with notifications. Marcus ignored it. Instead, he got up and made himself breakfast. When was the last time he had done that? He could not remember. He usually had his chef prepare something, or he grabbed something quick on the way to the office. Today he scrambled eggs. They were not very good, a bit rubbery and overcooked. But he had made them himself, and that meant something. As he ate, he finally looked at his phone. 53 emails, 21 text messages, 7 missed calls. His assistant's messages got more and more urgent as the night went on. The last one said, "Where are you? Is everything okay? Please respond." Marcus felt guilty. His assistant, Sarah, was probably worried. He typed a quick message. "Everything is fine. Took some personal time. We'll be in the office by noon." Sarah responded immediately. "Thank God. I thought something had happened to you. The board meeting is at 2 p.m., don't forget." Marcus had forgotten. A major board meeting about the company's expansion plans. Normally he would have spent days preparing. But last night he had not thought about it once. He would have to wing it. The idea made him nervous but also strangely excited. Maybe he did not need to control every detail. Maybe he could trust himself to be good enough without perfect preparation. Marcus arrived at his office building at 11:30. The building was downtown, 40 stories of glass and steel with the Wellington Industries logo at the top. His corner office on the 40th floor had a view of the entire city. On clear days, he could see for miles. The security guard at the front desk looked surprised to see him. "Mr. Wellington." "Good morning, sir. We didn't expect you until later." "Good morning, Frank," Marcus said. He realized he did not usually greet the security guards by name. Did he even know all their names? He should. They were there every day, keeping the building safe. "How's your family?" Marcus asked. Frank looked even more surprised. "They're good, sir." "Thank you for asking. My daughter just started college, and that's wonderful." "What's she studying?" "Engineering." "She's the first one in our family to go to college. We're very proud." Marcus smiled. "You should be. Congratulations." As he walked to the elevators, Marcus thought about how many people worked in this building that he never really saw. Security guards, janitors, cafeteria workers, receptionists. They made his life easier every day, but he barely acknowledged them. That needed to change. Sarah was waiting for him at his office. She was in her late 20s, smart and organized, always perfectly professional. She looked relieved to see him. "Are you okay?" she asked. "You've never gone off the grid like that before." "I'm fine," Marcus said. "Better than fine, actually. I had an important night. What happened? Is it about the merger?" Marcus almost laughed. Sarah assumed everything was about business. That was fair. Usually it was. No, nothing about work. Personal stuff. "I went to a community center. Played piano." Sarah stared at him. "You played piano? I didn't know you played piano." "Most people don't. I've kept it private." "Why?" It was the same question everyone kept asking. "Why hide it?" Marcus was starting to realize he did not have a good answer. "Old habits," he said. "But I'm trying to change that." Sarah still looked confused, but she knew better than to push. She handed him a folder. "Here's the briefing for the board meeting. The main topic is the Asia expansion. Mitchell has concerns about the timeline." Marcus took the folder but did not open it. "Sarah, can I ask you something? Do you like working here?" Sarah blinked. "Yes, of course. It's a great job. But are you happy?" Sarah did not know how to answer that. Her boss had never asked her about happiness before. About quarterly targets, yes. About project deadlines, yes. But happiness, I don't think about it much, she finally said. "I'm busy, too busy. Sometimes. But that's just how it is, right? You work hard to get ahead." Marcus thought about the people at the community center. They worked hard too. But they made time for music. For community. For connection. Maybe there was a better way. "Take tomorrow off," Marcus said suddenly. "What?" "But we have the Johnson presentation. We'll reschedule. You've been working 70-hour weeks for months. Take a day, sleep in, do something you enjoy." Sarah looked like he had just spoken in another language. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure. And Sarah, thank you. For everything you do." "I don't say that enough," Sarah smiled, a real smile, not the professional one she usually wore. "Thank you, Mr. Wellington, that means a lot." The board meeting that afternoon was interesting. Marcus presented the expansion plans without his usual intensity. He listened more, asked more questions, admitted when he did not have all the answers. Mitchell, the CFO, noticed. "Are you feeling all right, Marcus? You seem different." "I'm fine," Marcus said. "Maybe just trying a new approach." The meeting went well despite his lack of preparation. Or maybe because of it. When Marcus was not trying to control everything, space opened up for other people's ideas. The board members seemed more engaged, more willing to contribute. After the meeting, Marcus went back to his office and did something he had never done before. He left at 5 o'clock, just walked out, went home at a normal time like a normal person. His assistant looked shocked. "Is something wrong?" "No, I just don't need to be here every minute of every day. The company will survive." That evening, Marcus practiced piano. Really practiced like he used to when he was younger. His fingers remembered the patterns, the scales, the arpeggios, the difficult passages he had mastered years ago. It felt good to reconnect with this part of himself. The next few days passed in a strange new rhythm. Marcus still worked hard, still made decisions, still ran his company, But he also left space for other things. He had lunch with old friends he had been ignoring. He called his mother, who was surprised and delighted to hear from him. He even signed up for a pottery class just to try something new. On Wednesday, he got a text from an unknown number. "Hi, Marcus. This is Sophia from the community center. Mrs. Chen asked me to remind you about the fundraiser Saturday. PM, don't forget your apron." Marcus smiled and texted back, "I'll be there." "Thank you for the reminder. Rosa is excited to see you again," Sophia wrote. "She's been telling everyone at school about the piano man." "I'm excited to see her too," Marcus typed. Saturday came. Marcus woke up early, nervous. He had been to many important events in his life. Product launches, investor meetings, award ceremonies, but somehow this community fundraiser felt more important, more real. He drove to the community center, parking right in front this time. He wore old jeans and a simple t-shirt. In his hand, he carried a brand new apron he had bought specifically for today. When he walked in, the place was bustling with activity. Mrs. Chen directed people like a general commanding an army. "Tables go here. Decorations over there. Someone check on the food." She saw Marcus and smiled. "You came." "I said I would. People say a lot of things. You actually showed up. That counts for something." She handed him a box of decorations. "Hang these streamers. Make them look nice." Marcus got to work. He hung streamers. He set up tables. He carried heavy boxes. He swept floors. Other people worked alongside him. Jerome showed up with his tools and fixed a wobbly table. Dorothy arranged flowers in vases. Kevin helped set up a sound system. Sophia arrived with Rosa. The little girl ran over to Marcus immediately. "You came. You came." "Of course I came. I promised." Rosa grabbed his hand. "Come see what I made." She pulled him over to a table where she had drawn a poster. It said, "Community dinner tonight," in colorful letters. Around the words, she had drawn musical notes and a piano. "That's beautiful," Marcus said. "I drew it for you," Rosa said proudly. Sophia walked over, smiling. "She worked on it all week. She's obsessed with that piano performance." "I'm honored," Marcus said to Rosa. "Can I keep this poster after the dinner?" Rosa nodded enthusiastically. "Yes. You can hang it in your house." Marcus imagined that childish poster hanging in his mansion, surrounded by expensive art. Somehow it would be the most valuable thing there. More people arrived to help. The community came together like a well-oiled machine. Everyone knew their role. People who had been coming here for years worked seamlessly together. They joked and laughed as they worked. This was not a chore for them. It was a celebration. By 2 o'clock, everything was ready. The room had been transformed. Colorful streamers hung from the ceiling. Tables were covered with cheerful tablecloths. The smell of cooking food filled the air. In the kitchen, several women were preparing a feast. Mrs. Chen had organized donations from local restaurants and grocery stores. Everyone had contributed something. Marcus had been assigned to serve food. He stood behind the serving table with an apron that said, "Kiss the cook." Dorothy had given it to him with a wink. "It's my late husband's apron."
He would have liked you. The doors opened at 3.
People streamed in. Families from the neighborhood. Elderly people who lived alone. Young couples. Children running around excited. He walked to the front of the room where the old piano sat. Someone had cleaned it since Tuesday. It still was not tuned properly, still had chipped keys, but someone had polished the wood and dusted it carefully. Someone cared about this piano. Marcus sat down on the bench. He looked out at all the faces watching him. Unlike Tuesday night, he was not a stranger now. They knew who he was. They knew he was rich. They knew he was a CEO. But they also knew he was Marcus, who served food and hung streamers and showed up when he said he would. "What should I play?" he asked. "Something happy." A child called out, "Something we can dance to," a teenager said. "Something from the heart," Mrs. Chen said quietly. Marcus nodded. He knew what to play. His fingers found the keys and he started with a simple, joyful melody. An old folk tune that everyone knew. People started clapping along immediately. Some stood up and danced. Children twirled in circles. Elderly couples held hands and swayed. But Marcus could not keep it simple for long. It was not in his nature. He started adding variations. Jazz riffs. Classical flourishes. The simple tune became complex and beautiful, but it kept that joyful heart. It was music that made people want to move, want to smile, want to celebrate life. He played for 20 minutes. One song flowing into another. Happy music, music full of hope and joy. Music that celebrated this community and everything they meant to each other. When he finally finished, the applause was thunderous. But it felt different than Tuesday night. That night, people had been shocked and amazed. Tonight, they were grateful and happy. This felt like family applauding one of their own. Marcus stood up from the piano, breathing hard. Rosa ran up to him and hugged his legs. That was even better than before. You think so? Yes. Because this time you were smiling. Before you looked sad. Now you look happy. Out of the mouths of children. Rosa was right. Tuesday night he had been playing out of loneliness and desperation. Tonight he was playing out of joy and connection. Sophia came over with a paper plate of dessert. I saved you some cake. You've been serving everyone else. Time for you to eat. Marcus took the plate gratefully. The cake was homemade, probably made by one of the community members. It was a bit lopsided and the frosting was messy, but it was delicious. How are you feeling? Sophia asked. Good, really good. This is the most fun I've had in years. Even though you're just serving food and playing piano for free? Especially because of that, Marcus said. I've paid thousands of dollars for entertainment that did not make me half as happy as this. Sophia studied his face. I believe you. You look different than Tuesday night. Less haunted. Marcus was surprised by the word choice. Haunted? Yeah. When you first came in last week, you had this look in your eyes. Like you were running from something, or looking for something you'd lost. Tonight you just look peaceful. She was right. Marcus did feel peaceful. He felt like he was exactly where he was supposed to be. Kevin walked over holding a guitar. Hey Marcus, you think you could play something and I could play along? I've been learning guitar. Sure. What do you know? Just basic chords. But I practice every day. They played together, Marcus on piano and Kevin on guitar. Kevin was not great, but he tried hard. His fingers fumbled on some chord changes. But he kept going, kept trying. Marcus adjusted his playing to support Kevin, making the younger man sound better than he was. When they finished, Kevin was grinning ear to ear. That was awesome. I've never played with someone before. You're good, Marcus said. Keep practicing and you'll be great. You think so? I know so. You've got passion. That matters more than technique. The evening wound down slowly. People started leaving, saying their goodbyes. Thank you for coming. See you Tuesday. God bless. A group of volunteers stayed to clean up. Of course, Marcus stayed too. He helped wash dishes, fold tables, sweep floors. His back ached. His feet hurt. His hands were wrinkled from dishwater. He could not remember the last time he had felt this physically tired. It felt wonderful. As they worked, people talked and joked. Jerome told stories about his construction jobs. Dorothy shared memories of her late husband. Kevin talked about the video games he was designing. Everyone had stories. Everyone had dreams. Everyone had something to offer. Marcus realized something important. In his regular life, he was surrounded by people who wanted to impress him, who wanted his approval or his money or his connections. But here, nobody wanted anything from him except his presence, his genuine participation, his real self. Finally, around 9 o'clock, everything was clean. The last volunteers said goodbye. Soon it was just Marcus, Mrs. Chen, Sophia, and Rosa, who had fallen asleep on a chair. Today was a good day, Mrs. Chen said, counting the money they had raised. A very good day. Thanks to everyone who helped, Sophia said. She looked at Marcus. Including you. You really showed up today. I meant what I said. I want to be part of this community. Mrs. Chen put the money in an envelope and locked it in her desk. You know what surprised me most about you today, Marcus? What? You didn't try to take over. You didn't try to tell us how to do things better. You didn't throw money around or act like you were in charge. You just helped, like everyone else. That takes humility. Marcus felt the compliment settle in his chest. Humility was not something people usually associated with him. But maybe it was something he could learn. I learned a lot today, Marcus said, about community, about what really matters. And what really matters? Mrs. Chen asked. Marcus thought about his answer. Connection, purpose, being part of something bigger than yourself, using your gifts to help others. Mrs. Chen smiled her warm grandmother smile. You're learning. Keep coming back and you'll learn even more. Sophia picked up the sleeping Rosa. I should get her home. Say goodbye, baby. Rosa opened her eyes sleepily. Bye, Marcus. See you Tuesday. See you Tuesday, Rosa. Sophia paused at the door. Marcus, can I say something? Of course. When you first told us who you were, I was angry. I felt deceived. But watching you today, I realized something. You weren't deceiving us. You were trying to find yourself. Sometimes people need to hide to discover who they really are. Thank you for understanding, Marcus said. Just don't disappear on us. Rosa would be heartbroken. And honestly, so would I. You're good for this community, and I think this community is good for you. It is, Marcus said. Very good for me. After Sophia left, Mrs. Chen walked Marcus to the door. The streets were quiet now. A few cars passed by. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked. You know what I think, Marcus? Mrs. Chen said. What? I think you came here looking for a community. But I think you really needed to find yourself. The real you, not the CEO version, not the billionaire version. Just Marcus, the man who plays beautiful piano and serves food with a smile and hangs streamers without complaining. Marcus felt tears prick his eyes. You're right. I've been lost for a long time. Playing a role, pretending to be someone I'm not. Well, stop pretending. Be yourself. The world needs more people who are brave enough to be themselves. Mrs. Chen reached up and patted his cheek like he was her grandson. See you Tuesday. And Marcus? Bring that openness, that vulnerability you showed tonight. That's the Marcus we want to see. Marcus walked to his car feeling lighter than he had in years. When he sat down in the driver's seat, he caught sight of himself in the rearview mirror. His hair was messy. His shirt was stained from serving food. He smelled like dish soap and cake. He had never looked more undignified in his life. He had never looked more real. Marcus's phone had been buzzing all evening. He finally checked it. Dozens of messages from work. Some crisis about a supply chain issue. Normally, he would have panicked and rushed to fix it immediately. Tonight, he read the messages and decided it could wait until Monday. Whatever it was, the company would survive. He had competent people working for him. They did not need him to micromanage every problem. As he drove home through the dark city streets, Marcus thought about the journey he had been on. Just 1 week ago, he had walked into that community center feeling empty and alone. Tonight, he had served food alongside friends, had played music for people who cared, had been part of something real. 1 week had changed his life. Not because of some dramatic event, but because he had finally been brave enough to be himself, to take off the mask, to be vulnerable and real and human. When Marcus got home, he did not go to his fancy music room with the expensive piano. Instead, he went to his home office and opened his laptop. He wrote an email to his board of directors. In it, he proposed a new initiative. Wellington Industries would partner with community centers in 10 cities. Not just give money, but really partner. Employees would volunteer. The company would provide resources. They would be present and involved. But more than that, Marcus proposed something radical. Every employee would get 1 day a month to volunteer wherever they wanted. Paid time, no questions asked. The company would support them in giving back to their communities. Some board members would think he was crazy. Some would worry about profits. But Marcus did not care. He had learned something important this week. Success without purpose was empty. Money without connection was worthless. A life focused only on business was not really a life at all. He hit send on the email and closed his laptop. Then he went to bed and slept better than he had in years.